Bole Baba Ki Jai. In our last discourse, we were learning about Veda Vyasa having done great tapasya and being granted a boon by Lord Shiva and the Divine Mother to have a son. Then he was wondering, how am I going to have a son because I don't have a wife? And as he was kindling a fire to make his first food after 100 years of tapasya, a beautiful celestial nymph appeared, and he became very amorous as he was thinking about how he really did not want to succumb to these amorous feelings. He thought about a story that he had heard from Narada, how in ancient days a king named Pururava fell under the clutches of a beautiful celestial nymph and ultimately felt great pain. So now we move on to a short part of chapter 11, where the rishis asked Sutta, "Who is this king, Pururava, and who is this deva, Urvasi, and how did that high-souled king come into trouble? Kindly describe all these things. We are now desirous to hear your sweet words from your lotus mouth. O Sutta, your words are sweet and more full of juice than nectar, even as received from the Homa, the Amrit." Hearing this, Sutta said, "O Munis, I am now telling you, as far as my intelligence goes, what I heard from the mouth of Sri Vedavyasa. Now hear this beautiful divine incident. Once in a time, there was a beautiful son born to Chandradev, who is the lord of the moon, and to a beautiful goddess named Tara." And now we're going to be on chapter 12, telling this story. They had a son named Buddha, and he was very beautiful. So now the story begins of this greatly religious Pururava, of a very charismatic and charitable disposition, and always ready to perform sacrificial acts. He was born of Buddha, so once again, the son of Chandradev and Tara, and a beautiful Kshatriya woman named Ila. Now Sutta will describe how Pururava was born of Ila and Buddha. In days of yore, there was a king named Sudaumna, very truthful and highly capable in keeping his senses under control. Once on a time, wearing beautiful earrings with extraordinary bow and holding the arrow case full of arrows on his back, he went out on a hunt to the forest, riding on a beautiful horse. This divine forest was adorned with rows of beautiful trees and situated at the bottom of Mount Sumeru. Various trees and flowers are spreading the beauty of the forest all around. At places were beautiful creepers. There were also tanks and reservoirs of water in the forest filled with swans and other aquatic birds. The bamboo trees on their banks, becoming filled with air, were emitting sweet musical sounds. And at many places of that all-blessing forest, there were bees humming sweetly and delighting the minds of people there. Now the king became highly gladdened in his heart to see this interior of this forest he had never been to before, and resonated with the cooing of the cuckoos and beautified by various lovely flowers. But no sooner had he entered there than he was turned into a female, and his horse also was turned into a mare. The king then became seriously anxious. He began to think over and over again, what is this? How has this come to pass? And became very ashamed and sorry and pondered over this What am I to do now? How can I, in this woman condition, go back to my house, and how shall I govern my kingdom? Alas, who has deceived me thus?" Hearing these astounding words of Sutta, the rishi said, "O Sutta, you have mentioned that the king, equal to such godly characteristics, has been turned into a woman. This is very strange indeed. Therefore, O Sutta, what is the reason this has happened?" And even his horse turned to a mare. Kindly describe fully what that beautiful king did in the forest. Sutta said, "Once on a time, Lord Shiva and other rishis went to this forest to pay a visit to, once at a time, Sanaka and other rishis came to the forest to pay a visit to Lord Shiva, illuminating the 10 quarters by their holy oars. But at that time, Bhagavan Shiva was in amorous dealings with his Shakti, Ambaji. The beautiful Devi Ambika was then naked and sitting on the lap of Shiva, and therefore became very much ashamed at their seeing her. She got up hurriedly and, putting on her cloth, remained there shuddering with great shame and sensitivity. The rishis, also seeing them engaged in amorous dealings, went away quickly to the hermitage of Narayana. Then Bhagavan Shiva, seeing how sensitive and ashamed Ambika was, said, "Why are you so much bashful and shy? I am doing just now what will give you pleasure, O beautiful one. Whichever male will ever enter into this forest today and hereafter within the precincts of this forest will be instantly converted into a woman. O Munis, though the forest gave all delights to all, yet having this defect, all the persons that know of this curse carefully avoid that forest. So no sooner did the king, Sudi Umna, enter into the forest out of ignorance than he, as well as his attendants, were instantly turned into women. There could be no doubt in this. The king became overpowered with great care and anxiety and did not go back out of shame to his palace, but he began to wander to and fro on the outer skirts of that forest. He became known afterwards as the woman Ila. Now once on an occasion, Bhuta, the son of Chandradev and Tara, while he was wandering at his will, came up and, seeing the beautiful Ila with gestures and postures and surrounded by women, became passionately attached towards her. And Ila too, seeing the beautiful Bhuta, the son of Chandradev, became desirous of having him as her husband. They became so much filled with love toward each other that they became married. Thus Bhagavan Bhuta generated in the womb of Ila Pururava, and Ila gave birth to him, the son in the forest. She then, with an anxious heart, recollected while in the forest his family priest, Vishista Deva. Now then, Vishista Deva, seeing the distressed condition of the king Suryamna, became affected with pity and pleased Mahadeva, Shankara, Lord Shiva, the most auspicious Deva, by hymns and praises. When Bhagavan Shiva wanted to grant him the boon that he desired, Vishista Deva wanted that the king would be turned again into a man as before. At this, Bhagavan Shiva said, in recognition of his promise, that the king Suryamna would be alternately 1 month a man and the second month a woman, and so on. Thus, by the favor of his guru, Vishista Deva, the king got this boon and returned to his kingdom and began to govern it. When he used to be turned into a woman, he used to remain in the interior, and when he used to become a man, he governed his kingdom. At this, the subjects became very anxious and did not welcome the king as they used to do before. Some years passed away in this way, and then the prince, Pururava, the son of his or Ila's and Bhuta, grew up into manhood. So then the king, Sudurumna, gave over the kingdom to his son and made him the king, and started out to a hermitage to perform tapasya. So Ila, also the king, 1 month, and Ila the next month, she went to a beautiful forest, variegated with all sorts of trees, and got from the Narada the excellent mantra of the Bhagavati Devi, consisting of 9 letters. He began to repeat it incessantly with a heart filled with love. Thus some days passed away when all the auspicious Devi Bhagavati, the savior of the whole universe, became pleased with the king and appeared before the king, assuming the divine beautiful form, composed of attributes, intoxicated with drink, and eyes rolling with pride and riding on her lion. Seeing this divine form of the mother of the universe, the king, Ila, in this form, bowed down before her with eyes filled with love and gladly praised her with hymns thus: "O Bhagavati, what a fortunate being I am, that I have seen today the extraordinary world-renowned form of thine, granting grace and benefit to all the lokas. I therefore bow down to thy lotus feet, granting desires and liberation, and served by the whole host of the devas, O Mother. What mortal is there on this earth who can fully comprehend the glories when all the devas and munis get bewildered in trying to know of them? O Devi, I am thoroughly astonished to see thy glories and thy compassion towards the distressed and poor and helpless people. How can a human being who is devoid of attributes comprehend thy attributes? When Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Pavana, Surya, and the 8 Vasus do not know thy powers. O Mother, Bhagavan Vishnu of unrivaled brilliancy knows thee as a part of thine only, as Lakshmi, a sattvic guna, and giving one's all desires. Bhagavan Brahman knows thy part only in the form made of Rajatunas, and the Bhagavan as Saraswati, and the Bhagavan Shiva knows thee as the tamasic guna, as Lord Uma. But, O Mother, none of them knows thy full form transcending all the gunas. O Mother, where is my humble self that is of very dull intellect and powerless? And where is thy extremely propitious serenity and graciousness? Indeed, such a gracious favor on me is certainly beyond exception. Therefore, O Bhavani, I have come to realize in particular that thy heart is full of unbounded mercy, for thou dost certainly feel compassion for these bhaktis that are full of bhakti toward thee. O Mother, what more shall I say than this? That Bhagavan Vishnu, though married to Lakshmi, born from only a part of thine, considers himself unfit of her and is therefore not happy. Then the fact that he, Vishnu, gets his feet shampooed by Lakshmi merely corroborates the fact that he wants his feet to become pure and all auspicious in the world by the holy touch of Lakshmi's hand. O Mother, it seems to me that the Asian Purusha Vishnu wants gladly to be touched by thee like the Ashoka tree for his own improvement and pleasure, and therefore it is that Thou dost want, as if thou hast become angry, to kick, beat with one's legs, thy husband stricken of Cupid's arrow and worshipped by the devas, who lies prostrate below thy feet. O Devi, when thou always recitest on the calm, broad chest, as if on a great cot, adorned beautifully as Bhagavan Vishnu, as lightning in deep, dense blue clouds, then it is without doubt that he, becoming the Lord of the universe, has surely become thy vehicle, and on account of this, carrying many troubles of the world. O Mother, if thou forsake Vishnu out of wrath, he becomes at once powerless and is not worshipped by anybody, for it is seen everywhere that persons, though calm and serene, if devoid of Shri, wealth and power, the sattvic guna, are forsaken by their relatives as reduced to a state of having no qualities. O Mother, I am not to be ignored by thee on account of my being a woman, for was it not the fact that Brahma and the other devas who always take shelter of thy lotus feet had not at all to assume once youthful feminine forms while in Manidvipa? And I know this surely, that you again didst make them male forms. Therefore, O thou of unbounded power, what shall I describe about my power? Indeed, there is a great doubt in my mind whether thou art masculine or feminine. O Devi, whoever thou mayest be, whether with attributes on transcending the attributes, whether male or female, I always bow down to thee, with heart full of devotion towards thee, O Mother. I want that I may have an unflinching devotion towards thee in my final state. Sutta said, thus praising the Devi, the king, in the form of the feminine Ila, took refuge of the world mother, and the Devi, becoming greatly pleased, gave to that king then and there union with her own self. Thus the king got the highest steady place, so very rare even to the Munis, by the grace of the prime force, the Devi Mahamaya, Adi Shakti, the Divine Mother. Thus ends the 12th chapter of the first book on the birth of Pururava in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Bole Baba ki jai, Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Vishveshwari Mat ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai.